Part 3, overall test results. During these tests, sustained drawbar horsepower readings in the range of 67 to 6900 at speeds of 42 to 46 miles an hour were frequently observed, and the highest instantaneous horsepower reading was 7,498 at 46 miles an hour at milepost 61 on the northern subdivision. These results validated that the H8 had indeed taken the crown for world's most powerful locomotive from the Norfolk and Western Class A, and that's where the famous measurement of almost 7,500 horsepower comes from. This reading right here, as I just read. Anyway, on the northern subdivision test run, a stop was made at milepost 539. The H8 exerted a drawbar power pull of 117,500 pounds, well in excess of the rated 110,000 pounds. This was the heaviest of all the test trains, with a total weight of 14,083 tons, 8% more than the T1s normally carried. 6 minutes after starting the train had traveled 1 mile and accelerated to 19 miles an hour. When it reached the approach to the Lineville Bridge, about 4.5 miles from where it started, the train was moving at 31.5 miles an hour. Climbing the approach to the bridge, the speed fell to 13.5 miles an hour, but once over the bridge, the H8 soon accelerated the train back up to 24 miles an hour. On the Allegheny subdivision tests, a double train with 139 loads, totaling 11,623 tons, with an H8 pusher, was stopped by a signal with the entire train on a 0.57% grade. Light rain was falling, making conditions for starting the train poor. After twice taking slack, the two engines started the train, with a road engine exerting a drawbar power of 115,000 pounds. The engine did not slip. After 2.5 miles, the train was back up to its normal running speed of 18 miles an hour. Using the data in the test report, it's easy to calculate the power produced by the H8 on the Allegheny grade. On one test run, the train did not stop. Power was generally over 5,000 horsepower and peaked at 7,100 horsepower. A dispatcher's train sheet from 1936 provides information about the normal capacity of the H7 locomotives, allowing us to compare the performance of the H8 to its predecessor. See Table 4 above. And this is Table 4. As you can see, it was had a 44% increase in tonnage, and this was how much time it took to pull the run, hours and minutes, for the trains. Showing a power difference, of course, and there was the eastbound single and the eastbound double. The trains were 866 tons versus 11,569 tons. Hitting to Allegheny, it took them 3 hours 53 minutes with an H7, and the H8 cut that in half to 1 hour and 57 minutes. And this is gross tons per mile per train hour. And then the westbound single. You have roughly the same type of train. Clifton Forge, it took basically a slightly less loaded down train, 98%. From Clifton Forge to Allegheny, it took 2 hours with the H7, but the H8, the Allegheny, was able to do it in 1 hour 19. And then you have, again, the gross tons per mile per, or gross ton miles per train hour running. Anyway, right, so onward, where we left off. Which was up here, table 4. And that was table 4. H8 to its predecessor. This clearly illustrates the H8 was capable of doing the same or more work as an H7 on the Allegheny summit, and doing it substantially faster. The gross ton per train hour figures especially impressive since they provide overall measure of power of the locomotive. They indicate the H8 was easily 50 to 100% more powerful than the H7. Among other measurements, several of the factors measured in these tests stand out. The engine was capable of very high power, with many measurements approaching 7,000 horsepower, and with a maximum reading of 7,498 horsepower. This is the highest power output ever recorded by a steam locomotive. Well, a reciprocating steam engine anyway. The temperature of the steam delivered to the superheater was measured to be about 725 degrees, giving a superheat of 316 degrees Fahrenheit, a very high figure. Attesting to the effectiveness of the Type E superheater. The average steam chest pressure for the rear engine was 244 psi. This is remarkable because the prevailing rule of thumb was steam chest pressure would be 85% of the boiler pressure, or 221 psi in the case of the H8. Instead, the H8 achieved a steam chest to boiler pressure ratio of 94%. Equally remarkable is the pressure in front of the engine steam chest, which averaged 240 psi. Only a 4 psi drop compared to the rear cylinders, despite the extra distance steam had to travel through the flexible joint and a couple of Y-pipes. Overall, this illustrates the excellence of the design of steam passages on the H8. This accounts for the H8's ability to produce upwards of 118,000 foot-pounds of tractive effort, significantly more than the rated 110,000, which was calculated using a formula assuming only 85% of the boiler pressure would be available to the cylinders. The H8's evaporation rate was 650 to 750 pounds of steam per hour per square foot of grate area, combined with its 135 square foot grate, gives steam production of 100,000 pounds of steam per hour, a prodigious amount for any locomotive. It is clear that the C&O got what they wanted in the H8, an engine that would basically handle the same loads over the Allegheny summit as the H7s, but faster and more economically. There is very little data, test data available on the H7s. But we do know they were very dirty engines, indicating they were fired right up to the maximum possible firing rate, resulting in a lot of unburned coal going out the stack and seriously decreasing the efficiency. The H8s, on the other hand, were operating very efficiently with modest firing rates to do the same work and doing it faster. The tests on the northern subdivision indicate that the H8s easily exceed capabilities of T1 in the service as well. The H8s became common on the northern after the final 15 engines were delivered in 1948. It is clear that the AMC got what it wanted in the H8, an engine that could definitely exceed the power of the rival Norfolk and Western Class A 2664. The A's record set in Ohio, south of Columbus, was 6,300 horsepower. The H8, testing the same region, produced nearly 7,500 horsepower. The great weight controversy. Here we go. Now this is one of the biggest points of contention. It is well known that the first 45 Alleghenies were seriously overweight. The contract